On the air and via all Igniting Change with Barbara Arnwine platforms by host Barbara Arnwine Esquire, guests and supporters are their own and are independent of any organization, entity. Nothing said on the show or any of its platforms constitutes a client-attorney relationship or serves as legal advice counsel. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to Igniting Change, its platforms, or the show's host. It's time now for Igniting Change, a weekly provocative and empowering program where you, the listener, can ignite change. Now here's your host, Barbara Arnwine.
Get up, stand up.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Stand up for your right.
Welcome to Igniting
Get up,
Change.
stand up.
Oh, we have a great show for you today, and we're so excited that you are here. But before we get underway, let me introduce my mighty co-host, because we have something jointly we must do this morning for the nation, for the world, for our future. So I want to call and just say on Mr. Daryl D. Jones. He is the board chair, and he is one of the most visionary, amazing lawyers in the country, and just a mighty co-leader of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Hey, Daryl.
Hey, Barbara. Good morning, good afternoon, depending upon where you are in the country. It's got to be Tuesday. It must be noon, because it's time for us to talk about igniting change across the country. My goodness, Barbara, we have so many exciting things that are going on. I can barely wait to get started with this show today. You know, tomorrow is going to be a landmark day in terms of dealing with the Supreme Court. And boy, do we have some interesting topics to talk about. What's going to be happening at the Supreme Court tomorrow, Barbara? What's going to be happening in the state of Ohio? What do we tell people that are in Ohio, Barbara? Today is their last day to get registered before this election.
That's right.
So we need to be certain to get your registration on today before 5 o'clock, before the polls close for registration. You want to be certain to get your registration on in the state of Ohio, Barbara.
Yes, and everyone, today is a sad day because we lost a giant last night. Yesterday, I should say, we lost a giant. We lost the mighty, wonderful leader that you've all been watching across the country, throughout the nation, as he has stood beside his two other octogenarians, as they say. He was 102, but yesterday, Uncle Red, as we all affectionately called him, left this earth after fighting for decades for justice for the people who were massacred in 1921 during the Tulsa race massacre. So our affection to Justice for Greenwood Foundation, to all of those, to Attorney Demario Solomon Simmons, to the survivors, to everyone, we give you our love, our respect, and this day we all pledge, what, Daryl? To fight on in the name of Uncle Red.
Absolutely, Barbara. You know, and what they're doing down in Tulsa with this case on the government side is, you know, it's just disgusting. It really is, because it has all the makings of a government that's trying to say we're going to outweight the plaintiffs that are in their 100s now, or near 100s now. We're going to try to outweight them so that we can really water down this case that is the Tulsa massacre. It's really deplorable on the government side, and I'm hoping that the people that are down in Tulsa, that hear us, the people across this country that are hearing us talk about this, move it to the forefront of your mind. Don't let them do this to our remaining plaintiffs that we have there. Move it to the forefront of your mind. Send a letter, send an email, raise a prayer that the government will do the right thing and come to a settlement for the wrong they've done to the community in Greenwood. It's just very disgusting. It's very disheartening. And, Barbara, certainly my heart is heavy since Uncle Red has now passed. And he was really fighting that fight and staying in it as long as he possibly could, Barbara.
Yes, and to the family of Hughes Van Ellis, he is our Uncle Red. We say, God bless you, and Uncle Red, rest in power. All right, moving on to today's show. We have some amazing guests who are joining us today, who have done everything they can to make sure that we have justice throughout this country, who are doing everything we can to fight back about the injustices, especially on the voting rights field. And it is my honor, Daryl, to introduce our first guest, and that is the mighty Romel Sandino from the amazing League of Women Voters US. He has been a leader in the fight for justice, immigration justice, a fight for so much throughout the nation. He is the National Organizing Director for the League of Women Voters, and he is a former senior organizer of immigration at Fair Immigration Reform Movement at Community Change. He is just amazing, and he's working with all those great groups, including the Ohio Rights Coalition, Voting Rights Coalition, and all the other great groups that are working in Ohio to secure justice. Welcome, Romel Sandino.
Good morning, Barbara, and good morning, Daryl. It's always such an honor to be in your presence, and good morning or good afternoon, everyone that is listening to this powerful show on this beautiful day. I'm just so joyful to be joining you in conversations and really discussing what's coming up for Ohio. And also, I do want to do a quick plug for the other states that are facing important local and statewide elections as well. But always an honor and to be in conversations with both of you.
All right now. And Daryl, we have with us also a leader of the Transformative Justice Coalition. You want to bring up the our mighty board leader?
Oh, absolutely, Barbara. You know, it's not easy to bring Terry O'Neill up because she is such a powerful person, such an outstanding advocate. You know, she's the former president of the National Organization for Women, a former host of the podcast, What Equality Looks Like. Let me tell you. And she is currently the board secretary for the Transformative Justice Coalition. It's our pleasure to bring back to Igniting Change Terry O'Neill. Hey, Terry.
Hey, Daryl. Hey, Barbara. It's really great to hear your voices. I'm just thrilled and honored to be here. I do want to say before we get started how sorry I am for the loss of Mr. Ellis. It's a terrible loss, and it's such a cynical approach to what happened in Tulsa. That race massacre cries out for reparations, and the state of Oklahoma is doing everything it can to not let that happen. It's a terrible shame, but we keep working for justice. We have to acknowledge the injustice when we see it. So
Amen. So why don't we get all? We got a mighty 2 days coming up right now for Ohio. Ohio, yes, is back on our maps. We were all, you might recall, we had show at the show around around August 8th, earlier this year. And because there was that incredibly important vote to make sure that they did not steal from the people the power to change their constitution and to protect their constitution. So we want to talk right now about this day. So, Romel, what are we saying to people across the country who have families in Ohio, friends, colleagues? We're saying for all of them to get involved because they must make sure everybody knows what about today?
Today is the last day to register to vote for the upcoming elections on November the 7th. So it's extremely important for Ohioan voters to make sure that they're informed of what's going to be on their ballot and that they have a voting plan to get out to vote, be it through early voting or through vote by mail, or if they're planning to show up in person on November the 7th on Election Day. Just to quickly share with folks, and folks might already be aware, there's two important issues that's on the ballot for Ohioans on November the 7th. Issue number one is the issue to the right to reproductive decisions, right? And so this aligns with the rights of women to have bodily autonomy, to make this their decisions, their private decisions, or decisions with their families around pregnancy, and that includes abortion rights, right? Birth control, miscarriage care, personal and private. That should be left up to women and their families and be taken out of the hands of politicians specifically. And we know that, Ohio, the state of Ohio, has been trying to pass this 6-week abortion ban that's currently being litigated. And so on ballot issue number one, it's going to be the opportunity for voters to make their voices heard and to really stand up for the families and communities throughout Ohio. So it's extremely important for voters to understand both sides of issue one. And so what the League is doing, because we provide nonpartisan, trusted election information, is that we're making sure that through our state league, the League of Women Voters Ohio, we're making sure that we're pushing out the latest election information on issue one and also on ways for voters to get out to vote, right, with important election dates and deadlines and methods to make sure that all voters have access to the ballot box. One of the things that we're hearing from our state league on the ground is that it's extremely important for Ohioan voters to know what IDs they're going to use to get out to vote, right? With the new voter ID laws that were enacted during this past session in Ohio, it's extremely important for voters to understand what IDs are accepted and which IDs aren't. And so through vote401.org, we have all that information for voters to really be informed and make the best decision at the ballot box. But I do quickly also want to mention issue number two. But let me pause there.
Yes, and again, repeat that URL for how people can get information about both issue one and issue two.
Yes.
You said
vote. So the information on issue one and two and how voters, what IDs are acceptable, right, and how voters can get out to vote. That's all on our website, vote401.org. So that's our one-stop shop for all voter and election information. And some of the important dates, Barbara and Daryl, for Ohioan voters to make sure is in their radar is that the deadline to register to vote on November the 7th is today. Tomorrow, early voting starts, right? And early voting will run through November the 5th. And then the last day for voters to make their voices heard will be in person on November the 7th. And so all that information is on our website, vote401.org.
All right now. So this is so important, and when we come back, we're going to talk, a lot more about early voting and why that's important. Terry's going to, talk to us about the criticality of early voting, but also we're going to talk more about this issue of reproductive rights because women desperately need reproductive justice because Black women, listen to me, everybody, Black women are dying at 3 times the rate of white women in these states where they have passed bans on reproductive freedom. Yes, don't be fooled. It is killing Black women and other women of color. So we will talk about that as soon as we get back. Don't you dare even look at that dial. We'll be right back. It's Igniting Change time.
News Talk 1450 WOL AM, where information is power.
Good afternoon. Now this WOL traffic updates.